Hi there and welcome back to Chat EbT. I'm your host, Mohammed Ebrahim Tayob. So, a couple of months ago, I went for a comedy show. I was very excited because I'm a big lover of comedy. What I got is not what I expected. I got a comedy show, but a brilliant motivational speech as well from my guest today, Mr. Jason Goliath. Jason, thank you so much for joining us, man.
I've never been introduced like that. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
No, we got to say thank you for joining us. So yeah, Jason, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed that show, right? Like I said, we went in thinking, okay, we're gonna go sit back and have a lot of laughs. We did, by the way.
Yes,
but
thank you.
Got some great messages there with your gap theory. So tell us a little bit more about that.
So, firstly, come to the show if you want to know more about this theory. These theories are directly linked to my debit orders. I always come on these shows and then people say, just give your theories there. Now my theories are in the streets and my debit orders are not safe. But I'll share kind of as much as I can to intrigue people to come and experience it, I think, in person. But maybe let me start by sharing with you the why.
Yeah.
And why it's so, I can't even deny it anymore. So if you come to watch, it's just, it feels intentionally inspirational, I'd hope. And I think that's the word I'd use instead of motivational. It's more inspirational. Mm-hmm. And it started honestly, and I think we had a quick chat off camera, but it started honestly because of COVID. So I've always, pre-COVID been a little bit emotional, a little bit sentimental, and also always felt like I had things to share. I've always been obsessed with happiness and not only my own happiness, but for whatever reason, the happiness of people around me. I've always been a great observer of people. I think most comedians are. And then even though I was trying to do, some messaging stuff so that you're not just on stage saying nothing, COVID came, the audiences went away overnight. And people that are in the gig economy, like if you got a payslip, your COVID and my COVID were two very different things. One day we had money, the next day we were poor. It was like the diaries were full, then the diaries were empty, and it was crazy. And the first thing I realized in that first 21 days is I felt this guilt that I never honestly appreciated audiences. I never appreciated enough that, just the blessing to have people that want to listen. Never mind the fact that people arranged babysitters, that people, some of them had hair done, man. Some of them went to fetch hair out of labor to come through for you, spent money in this economy to come and consume what you're saying. And I was like, the reason I felt guilty was not that I never showed up before, because I've always believed in show up or stay at home, but I just felt guilty because how can you be speaking and have people listening in this day and age and not say anything? Making people laugh has become easy. I've been doing that for a long time. I can make anybody laugh. I'd like to think so at some point if I spend enough time with you. But making people feel now is a very different and I think a more necessary thing in the climate. If I ever look at the world, I'm not happy with the way the world is. Yeah. I think that there are so many atrocities. And then I'm like, the things that you can't control can be atrocities, but imagine if the things you could control were not atrocities. And is there maybe a little perspective or a light? I've always had this weird way of looking at things. And is there a little bit of a light that I can shine? So what happened during COVID is I then started thinking about, okay, well, if I have people listening, what do I want to say? And for the first time, I had time. I didn't have to race to market. I didn't have to rush something to become profitable. I didn't have to, make my Showmax deadline. Shame, rest in peace, Showmax. Salute and away, massacres. Thank you for the journey. And that's a truth. But it was, so the question that I started with was always, what is happiness? What does it mean? Why does nobody seem to know what it is? Why do I ask adults who are experienced in many things? And I say, what makes you happy? And you've got to pause and take a moment. And if you don't pause and take a moment, you give me like a generic answer. Yeah. My kids, which, obviously if your kids don't make you happy, what are you doing even in your life? Oh, my husband, my wife. Those things are supposed to make you happy. But what makes you happy? Then we started this process because I had this sum in my mind that in my 20s I was greedy for money. And the sum was success equals happiness. So if I make money, because that's how I always felt, it is your bank account is full, you feel joy. Bank account is empty, and for some reason my emotions were directly linked to my bank account. Got bucks, you feel lucker. Got no bucks, you feel fat. Feel not lucker. You know what I mean? And then it was, okay, success will equal happiness. And then I chased money my whole 20s and had no happiness. And then I realized in my 30s, as I started comedy at 30, I realized that or it's the right sum, but maybe the equation is being read the wrong way. So if success equals happiness, then happiness must equal success. And by definition of my own sum, if I chase the happy, I must be successful. So when I came to the realization of this was, really in COVID going, okay, but what is happy? You know what I mean? So I'd lived my 30s and through comedy with this happiness equals success. And don't worry about the success. Don't worry about the money. Worry about what makes you happy, and the success therefore will follow. But what is happiness? Never mind what is success. So Nick and I started this thing called the happiness economy, where we spent hundreds of hours just trying to figure it out during COVID and got nowhere. Because what is happiness? Looked at books, looked at the internet. There's no definitive answer. Everybody says a different thing. So we were like, okay, but big businesses, and you got an audit background, so you understand using the data. So we were like, big businesses use the data, they mine the data. So why don't we mine the data? So we were like, okay, what does that mean? So we were like, let's start a podcast specifically intended to figure out what happiness is. Mm-hmm. We will invite people onto that podcast who we perceive to be happy based on what we see on social media or know about their lives. And a lot of people kind of get the idea of somebody else's happiness, and a lot of people get their own idea of happiness from looking at somebody else's thing. So we were like, maybe if we interview enough people, we can come down to like a recipe of sorts, like a syrup. So, I think we've done over 60 episodes now, and some of the most interesting people. The show's called The Happiness Economy, and the answers were simple. Happiness does not exist the way we were indoctrinated to think it does. Happiness is a momentary thing. Happiness only happens where your feet are right now. It's in context, and you've heard many philosophers, I think, over the years say, I don't think it's happiness we're searching for, it's peace. A more peaceful, joyful existence is the way we extracted it. But then how does happiness exist? And then I think it literally exists personally for you in the moment. Then how are you able to be in the moment in 2026 when you're worried about month end, when you're worried about world wars, when you're worried about the traumas you happened yesterday? So it's like we are either fighting yesterday's things in our mind or creating tomorrow's things in our mind instead of being where our feet are. And a lot of us don't want to be where our feet are because we don't like it here. And then I'm always like, but if you don't like it here, you have to come here to go there. Yeah. Like you can't pretend, you know what I mean? So I can talk about this stuff all day, but it boiled down to the fact that how do we then be more in the moment? Well, gratitude, acceptance, and perspective is gap. And I call gratitude the aromat of life, and I won't maybe explain the other two in as much detail, but gratitude is just simply, man, we are so stressed and overwhelmed by the things we don't have yet, by the challenges we haven't achieved yet, by the races we haven't won, the victories, the trophies, that I think we forget to be grateful for the things we have already. So then my wish for anybody is always like, I sincerely wish that you wake up every morning first grateful for the things you have already before your brain starts stressing and anxiety and depression around the things you don't have yet, haven't done yet. And to find that gratitude is hard but also easy. Some mornings I'm just grateful to wake up, bruh.
I was going to actually mention that, and I hope I'm not giving away anything.
Give away as much as you want, Doc.
But I actually really love, you said that in the show,
yes.
And I love that, is that sometimes gratitude is, hey, I woke up today.
My guy.
And if we look at it, if I see in the last 6 months, I probably know 4 or 5 people that have passed away in their 30s, early 30s, 40s. And you're like, oh. And then we realize something like just what you said there.
We take it for granted.
Is this something?
I did this, so I do a lot of corporate work, right, emceeing, and I got this amazing opportunity to present this prize. I did a lot of awards, and this business created a special award because one of their managers was diagnosed with cancer the year, just after the year before, the conference they'd had the year before, and on her way to this conference got the all clear and spent that year in the journey. And it was apparently just the craziest thing, and they create this award for, the victory award for beating cancer. And I give this lady the award, and it's not in the script to talk to her, but I'm like, what a crime to not ask this person who has got such a unique perspective now on life questions. And I say to her now in front of our whole business, I go, literally I go, so is there anything like, what's the main takeouts? You before, you after, before the previous conference and right now? And she looks at me and goes, please don't wait for a diagnosis before you start living your life.
Sure.
And
That's
the whole
very
room went
powerful.
cold.
That's very
The whole
powerful.
room went cold. Please don't wait for a diagnosis before you start living your life. Don't wait for a big excuse. Don't wait for a big clock, because also the end could be tomorrow. The end could be in 50 years. We don't know. So just don't wait to start living. Then she said something that hit even more. Now she's looking at all of her colleagues, and her words were, "It's so crazy that you're going to spend most of your time with people who are not going to be there at your bedside in your time of need." She said, all these people, you spend most of your time with these people. These people are going to make courtesy phone calls
Yeah.
and carry on with their lives. And you're going to find that the people who are really there, the people who are going to sacrifice and give up their thing to help you through your thing, those are the things that we end up spending our least amount of time with. We don't prioritize, we cancel easily. And she was just like, take a second to be conscious of who'll be there and act accordingly. And I was just like, that's such a life lesson. And then combined with, and I encourage anybody who watches the podcast, first, go and find somebody that you know or you're interested in to watch it, because it's such a beautiful exploration of emotion. So we have this thing where at the end of like the last 10 episodes as it developed, because it's such a social media heavy thing in terms of our perspective, if we invited you, we would then take 2 happy moments from your Instagram, right? So we'd go through your Instagram before you arrived, and we'd show you 2 moments that we feel are naturally happy moments. We interrogate these moments. So the first one is normally like a bottle popping moment, we'd call it. This is your big award, your graduation, this big moment you've worked for, whatever it is. Fantastic. The second moment is generally like a Tuesday evening. You randomly took a picture of you having supper with the lighties because somebody made biryani for the first time or something crazy like that. So we go, this first moment makes you happy, of course. The second moment makes you happy, of course. And then the question is, at the end of your life, which of these 2 moments will you miss more? Which of these 2 moments will be more important to you? The bottle popping moment or the Tuesday dinner with your kids or the hike with your kids? 100% of people say the dinner with their kids.
Yeah, 100%.
So then I live in a world where people don't think about that. I live in a world where people are going to give more attention to their studies, to their boss, to their bottom line, to their Instagram profile, to pretending they're happy, instead of doing like, my mother's sentence is choice and consequence. That's the pillars of life. Choice and consequence. And then her words were, I just want you to be smart enough to think about the consequences you'd like to enjoy and let that inform the decisions you're about to make. So then if at the end of your life you know the Tuesday dinner is going to be the thing, why are you not putting all your energy into those dinners? Why are you not present? Why are you not there? Because that's where your happiness is, where your feet are right now. But you think about those dinners, how you sigh and hiss and rush your way through. You think about, all the other things that are going on. And then I'm just like, man, I think we sometimes just miss life and live it the way the capitalism wants us to live it. I'm also a capitalist a little bit. I don't mind money. You can see the skin. This is duty-free products here, please. But at the same time, just live your best life, man. What if you only had this chance?
You're saying that, I'm smiling. I lived in London for 3 years, and I reminisce about it a lot.
Sorry about that.
And I go through all my photos every now and again, right? And you won't believe, as you're saying that, the video I go back to the most was my kids making biscuits. And I absolutely love watching that video because my daughter said something so adorable. And whenever I'm feeling down, I'll go watch that video. And I reminisce about London all the time. I tell everybody I miss it constantly. And I talk about other things when I talk about it. But as you said that, I realized that when I look at the photos, I don't go look at my touring, got to go watch this cricket match and tennis match and got to go do this, got to go do that.
All that stuff doesn't matter, bro.
I look at the video with my kids. So
a couple of things. We're all dying to know what was the adorable thing your daughter said.
So she said it in a very, she and my son were doing it. And she said he put the sprinkles in. And she just said, very good, you're amazing.
Oh, you see? Look how lovely that is.
I love that. I watch that because honestly, whenever I'm feeling down, that'll bring me a smile. But I love that you said that because up until now, when I reminisce about all the other things. But when I look at the photos, I look at that photo.
So surely it must be empowering to be conscious of that while it's happening. Yeah. So imagine if you were able to go, this is important. Like, because I don't have kids and I'm not planning on having kids, I watch my bras and I'm always like, so excited for the big moments. I got a bra who's light is going to matric, and the school's tradition is they go on this camp, and then at the end of the camp, your dad meets you with a letter welcoming you to adulthood as a man now, and you and your dad speak for the first time in your life as a man, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, bro, please be present, please be there, please soak it in. Dude, I watched there's a clip on the internet of a billionaire, some American bra, and he's being interviewed, and he's one of those rags to riches, made all the bucks, he has everything, he's now in his deep 60s, and the interviewer says to him, you've obviously done everything. You've ticked every box. You've achieved everything. You've summited every peak in your life. When you look at another man, is there anything you envy? And the bra, without thinking, goes, oh, the only thing I envy is anybody who still has kids growing up in their house.
Lovely.
Then the woman goes, what do you mean? He said, hey, man, I was busy making these billions that time. I missed that time. I didn't realize it was going to be so short. And when you're 45, you realize how short 12 years is. You thought school was long. You know what I mean? I'm 45 now. You realize how short that thing is. Then it's just like, then to see a man who has our indoctrinated perception of what everything looks like, then he's craving the thing you're moaning about right now, the thing you're blaming for your lack of success, the thing you're blaming for your lack of sleep, lack of time. Your greatest blessing is now perceived by you to be your greatest curse, and that's why gratitude, acceptance, accept your situation where you are. Like a GPS, if you don't tell it where you are, it doesn't matter if you know where you're going. It can't help you if you don't tell it where you are.
That was the best, and again, we're not going to say much because I want people to
come
watch
and
the show.
That
watch.
Was
the best analogy I've ever heard. Honestly, the GPS analogy, I love that.
You know what, I'll give you the GPS analogy because it's also one of those things that I just like, if I can give, so the reason remember in the beginning you said motivational. Then the reason I don't say motivational is because I find motivation, especially in terms of motivational speakers, the way we've become, the way we enjoy consuming it, it's like energy drink motivation. While you're consuming that thing, you feel lacquer. The next 2 days, you feel hundreds. But then you don't have any tools to like apply any real change to your life. You've listened to somebody's life, but you know what I mean? So then when I do have a real tool that's helped me, so this thing is crazy for me because it helps me in all the areas. So I use Waze as my GPS, and for context, it's a GPS analogy for your whole life. As I use Waze, if you're a Wazer out there, thank you for telling me where the potholes are. You don't get enough love. Thank you most importantly for telling me where the roadblocks are. If you know, you know. Appreciate you. I hope you get all the Waze points, and I hope Waze gets you there 5 minutes early, even when you're 5 minutes late. Well done on your life. So I use Waze, right? And if you use a GPS, I always say to people, what's beautiful is the GPS can take you anywhere. You don't have to have been there before. You just need to know where you're going. Even if you don't know the name, generally you can search it. It'll come up. So think about that as your goal, your destination, your dream, the thing that you're trying to achieve. That's your end point. Then I think I used to be in a space where I was so frustrated because I was always so clear on what I wanted, but then so frustrated about I'm not there yet, until I realized the whole thing about your happiness is where your feet are now comes into acceptance. And if you accept where you are, it's not surrendering. I think a lot of people think accepting where you are is surrendering. So you accept your body. Like I had to accept my body shape is like this. You know what I mean? I mean, this is a delicious shape. This is our season. It's winter, bruh.
Yeah,
We're filming this thing in the winter time. We must enjoy ourselves. Wear skimpy clothes. The ladies like a duvet this time of the year. You know how it is, auntie. You basically are walking up to date potato right now. You know what I mean? The best of the best. Those who know, they know. So the point is, accept yourself where you are, then your GPS knows where to start. And only if it knows where to start and where to end can it plot you a route. Then Waze will plot you 4 routes. So you don't have to take everybody else's route. You can choose the route you prefer. Less traffic, more potholes, e-tolls, police. You choose your route, more time, less time, scenic, robots, highway. You choose. You choose your route. My favorite part is when you press go. So even though I had now a plan, so you maybe in business you have something like a flight plan, you have a goal, you have where you are, you understand all the different triggers, every step that you need to make, then even if I have that flight plan, I'm still frustrated by the fact that I'm not there. Then I realize the best part about the GPS is when you press go, it stops obsessing about where you're trying to go and only obsesses about your next step. In 1 kilometer, turn right. That's all you have to obsess about. You don't have to obsess about nothing else. 1 kilometer, turn right. Once you've turned right, now you obsess about, oh, in 3 kilometers, take the second exit. Then you're confused because you don't have circles where you come from. You take the third exit. Now you're lost. The GPS is not your wife. It's not your best friend from school. It's not going to guara you saying, you can't even drive. Why do you have K49 instead of K53? The GPS will simply say recalculating. Why? It still knows where you're going. The destination hasn't changed. So maybe you missed a turn. Then, and this is something I'm trying to develop into that, because as I land that, it's for me, right? Then I go, there's something missing. And the missing part is that stop, enjoy the roses. The missing part is that the destination for all of us is death. So if you're waiting for the destination to have a good time, to feel good, to find love, to love yourself, and you're waiting to die, then the journey is now. Every day is about having the best day today, you know what I mean? Then I realized that sometimes we become too obsessed with that GPS and we stop looking around. I would never have found stand-up comedy if I wasn't looking around. I was on my way to becoming an actor and a presenter, and I saw an off-ramp that looked interesting, and because I was on my own clock and not trying to get there on anybody else's clock, I stopped off at this little comedy off-ramp that not only changed my life, but allowed me to come back to my main destination with a completely different skill set and still be able to do things that now blow my mind. So also, enjoy it. Don't become so obsessed that you forget to have a lack of time. I had my wife's uncle say to me once, he said, I think you got a good head on you, my boy, so I'm going to say to you this, I'm going to tell you this, work is overrated. And I said, Bali, what you mean now? And he said to me, you're going to work your whole life for this money. They're going to tell you need this money, you're going to work your whole life for this money, and when you get this money, you're going to be too tired to spend it. So he said, please don't not have money, but he also said, please make sure you're having nice times along the way. I think you've said 6 sentences in 45 minutes.
Yeah, well, you know what? I always say this, right? I say what I love about this. I love this show. I love being the presenter on this show.
Because you coax us into talking what you're passionate about.
What I love most about this show is that I actually take so much away from these interviews. You know, because a lot of what you're saying, it applies directly to me. And that's why I started the show, because I said that, you know what I'm thinking, there's another 100 or 1,000 people thinking the same thing. So let's get my thoughts out there, and they'll probably say, you know, I actually thought about that as well. Maybe I was too afraid to ask.
Sometimes it's not even too afraid to ask. I think we beat ourselves up too much. Sometimes it's just because our brains can't articulate it, we don't know how to phrase the question. So like I hear things often and I'm just like, that's a thing. Like there's a documentary called Stats, which is essentially Jonah Hill interviewing his therapist, and he speaks about how we were indoctrinated subconsciously so wrong. And you know, there's been this whole uproar with Disney, and Disney making us believe in the fairy tale ending, and Prince Charming is going to come and save you, and your debit orders are just going to finish one day and you'll be and you know, so we get into that, like, you know, that happy ending thinking. And Stats, this therapist, says such a crazy thing. He goes, the only constant in your life, truth-wise, is going to be pain. There will always be pain. From the moment you are born till the moment you die, the only constant will be pain. Then he said, you will change your relationship with pain only when you realize and accept that pleasure is always on the other side of pain. So if you know that whatever pain I'm feeling is going to result in something lekker, it changes the taste of the pain. It changes the way you appreciate the pain. It's like somebody who's training in the gym. You don't ever hear those professional bodybuilders complain about, I'm so sick and tired of curls. He's worried about the results. That's what he's talking about. He's not talking to you about the technique. You know what I mean? He's talking to you about this and this and this. So pleasure is always on the other side of pain. Rewrites my whole rule book. So now when I'm in pain, when there's a problem, when something is going wrong, instead of collapsing, my brain goes, hey, what am I supposed to learn here? What lesson is this now? What chapter is this? And then, as you know, when you get old, you'll use all those lessons.
But, you know, I think that's, I always said this, is that what we take away at the end, you know, we're speaking about when you're at the end, you might be too tired to spend the money.
Yeah.
I always have lived by this philosophy, is what we really take away at the end is the stories that we can tell.
Well, that's what you have, right?
Right. So
The experiences.
story about my daughter, as I mentioned. That's the stories that we're going to tell, and we're going to laugh about it. We were sitting, I was very fortunate. My sister lives overseas, and she's back now for her summer vacation.
Nice.
And for the first time we get to spend time together, the whole family, for 1 year under one roof. We had supper by my mom's house last night. We're going to get to go there again, and we just sat and spoke about all these funny moments last night, and we spoke for hours, and we just laughed, and it was like, this is what it's about.
So you also have to make peace with the fact that that's not everybody's version of success. And that was
100%.
such a freeing thing for me, to
100%.
not hold anybody else accountable to my versions of success or happiness or what works for me. So like when I hear that, I go, I'm just so happy that you're conscious of the enjoyment. But it also triggers in me, I for years have been told, man, when are you moving to the States? When are you going to do this? When are you moving to Cape Town nowadays even? And then I always say to people, when you ask me that question, it means you have no idea what my markers of success are. Then they say, what do you mean? I say, I married the love of my life, literally. We live in a little house and afford ourselves a massive life from our little house. I found a woman who also doesn't want to have kids. What a crazy thing to find somebody and be able to live a different version of adulthood. But most importantly is not only did I find my dream wife and live my dream life, I live walking distance from my mother and my sister.
Right.
I have won at life.
100%.
What more I don't see my mother all the time, but I know she's walking distance. She knows I'm. Then I'm like, based on my level of success, there is no greater thing. There's nothing anybody else can offer me. Like people, I met a brother the other day that said to me, now what if I offer you $100 million, bro? You're gonna leave, you're gonna move to LA, $100 million. I said, my man, $100 million don't bring a day with my ma back.
I love that.
So figure out what's your $100 million. Figure out what's the important thing to you, then figure out the best way to enjoy that. That's where I'm at.
And I'm gonna add, because you mentioned something a little bit earlier. You mentioned social media, and you mentioned that we look at everybody else's definition of happiness.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we all do it. And I always said social media sometimes is not great because either we're posting to show off or we're watching to be jealous, right?
100%.
Right. And I told this buddy of mine, and I'll never forget what he said. I told him, I'm watching and I'm seeing everybody get their promotions and everybody go on holiday. And he told me the best thing I think I've ever heard. He said, dude, nobody posts bad things on social media.
No, bro.
So our perception of this happiness, of other people's happiness, is a fraction, is a piece of the puzzle.
It is. So here's my joke. I always go, nobody ever misses a debit order on Instagram. Nobody's car's tires are smooth on Instagram.
Yeah.
You don't ever see the petrol light come on Instagram. You want that, you must go to Twitter. That's a different platform. That's a different platform altogether. But that perception is true not only of social media, but of life. The bra you're seeing in the office is putting on a brave face. The neighbor that you see in the garden, putting on a brave face. You don't, it's like so crazy too when you realize that you're not the main character.
Yeah.
When you realize that everybody's the main character of their own story, and worse than that, every single person is going through something. Everyone. Even those that you can't imagine are going through something. Everyone is going through something. Then when you make accounts for the fact that, okay, everyone around me is going through something, and I hate that we compare now because you went through a type of trauma, I went through a type of trauma. I must feel like you must feel less about your trauma because in my mind it wasn't as traumatic as my trauma. Then I'm like, you know how you feel your feelings. I know how I feel. I'm going to feel my feelings. I will not compare. I will, try and empathize and be there. But it's hard enough, bro. We must just be kind. We must just, try and start at home. Love yourself. Then love your family, then love your street and your community and your family, and change the part of the world that you have an influence over. And if you can't be nice, just put your hands in your pockets and stay in your house, man.
Jason, I absolutely love this. We're running out of time, but I'm going to keep you right here because we're going to
to be continued.
We're going to carry on this chat on our next episode. So I'm going to ask you to just hang back right there.
I'm trying to think of like a killer line. Like, how they go like, in the next episode, Jason explains how he lost 25 kilos in the last 6 months. That's the truth.
So that's how we're going to start the next episode. All right. That's our show. Catch us next week where we continue this chat with Jason. My name is Mohammed Ebrahim Tayob. You're watching Chat EbT. Until next time.